The grand wedding ended with endless applause, photographs, and congratulations. By the time the couple escaped the glittering hall, YN's cheeks ached from smiling, and her hands were cold from being shaken 100 times. The Kims looked victorious, like kings who had just conquered another empire. Mr. Lee watched his daughter leave with Taehyung, hiding the flicker of unease behind a father's blessing. That night, the suite reserved for the newlyweds was nothing short of a royal palace. The room was filled with rose petals, champagne, and soft music humming from hidden speakers. The city lights glowed through the glass windows, reflecting the beginning of their new life. In stepped inside nervously, still holding the heavy gown with both hands. Her heart wouldn't stop racing. This feels unreal, she whispered. Behind her, Taehyung loosened his tie, his eyes never leaving her. He leaned against the doorframe, his lips curved in that teasing smile that always made her weak. Unreal? No, you're real. Too real. Mine now officially. She blushed furiously, avoiding his eyes. Stop saying things like that. He walked closer, step by step, until he stood right in front of her. Gently, he reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. Do you know how long I've waited for this moment to finally call you my wife? His voice dropped to a whisper, YN Kim. Her eyes widened. Don't call me that. It sounds perfect. He finished for her, chuckling softly. And I'll keep calling you that until you get used to it. She looked down, her lips pressing into a shy smile. The weight of the day, the nerves, the flashing cameras, all of it seemed to fade as she stood there with him. Taehyung suddenly tilted her chin up, his gaze locking with hers. You were nervous all day, weren't you? I could see your hands shaking during the vows. In bit her lip. Everything was so big, so overwhelming. I felt like, I don't know, what if I wasn't enough? His expression softened instantly. He cupped her face in both hands, his thumb brushing her cheek. Don't ever say that again. You're more than enough. You're everything. The world could burn and I wouldn't care as long as you're beside me. Her heart skipped, her breath caught, and for a moment she forgot how to speak. Then, with that familiar mischievous spark in his eyes, Taehyung smirked. But I won't lie, seeing you so nervous today was kind of cute, Taehyung. She swatted his chest, her face burning red. He laughed, pulling her into his arms before she could turn away. I'm sorry. No more teasing tonight. Just this, he pressed his forehead against hers. You're mine, finally, and I promise, I'll spend every day proving that marrying me was the best decision you ever made. Her lash fluttered as she whispered back, almost too softly, it already is. And in the quiet of the night, with the world far away, they sealed their beginning not with grand promises under chandeliers, but with whispered confessions only they would ever hear. The first morning after their wedding, YN woke to the unfamiliar ceilings of Taehyung's private mansion. It wasn't the Lee household anymore, nor the grandeur of the Kim palace. This was his world. Marble floors stretched through endless hallways, the walls lined with expensive art pieces, and the faint echo of servants' footsteps lingered in the silence. At first, YN felt like a guest in her own marriage. She greeted the staff politely, tried to make herself useful, but everything was too polished, too perfect. Taehyung watched her with amusement, his elegant bride sitting in the kitchen with the maids helping chop vegetables when she was supposed to be choosing designer gowns for public appearances. YN, he sighed one day, leaning against the doorframe as she rolled her sleeves up. You don't have to do this. That's why they're here. She looked up, smiling softly. I know, but I don't want to forget what real life feels like. This reminds me of home. Something stirred in him, a memory of simpler days before politics had consumed his veins. But he only smirked, slipping behind her to steal a quick kiss on her temple. You're impossible. Days turned into weeks, public appearances, charity events, and dinners with high-profile families filled Taehyung's calendar. YN attended by his side, dressed in gowns the world envied. She smiled at cameras, shook hands with strangers, But when the lights dimmed and the doors closed, she spoke truths Taehyung hadn't heard in years. "Do you ever get tired of it?" she asked one night as they sat on the balcony, the city lights flickering below. "Tired of what?" he replied, swirling the wine in his glass. "This game. The power, the money, the pretending." He chuckled, leaning back. "That's politics. YN. It's survival." Without it, the Kims wouldn't have lasted this long. She turned to him, her gaze firm yet gentle. "But without honesty, how long will you last? You're not just a Kim Tae, you're you. And I don't believe you were born for lies." For the first time, he didn't have an answer. Slowly, without him realizing, YN was peeling away the armor he had built around himself. She never lectured, never forced, just lived her truth in small ways that shone brighter than all his wealth. She spent afternoons at the women's shelter visiting families in need and insisted Taehyung come with her sometimes. At first, he agreed only for her sake, keeping his usual charming facade. But YN saw the way his gaze softened when a little girl tugged on his sleeve or when an elderly woman prayed for him with tears in her eyes. And at night, when he held her close, he whispered things he would never admit to anyone else. "I thought money fixed everything," he murmured once, his breath warm against her neck. "But when I see you smile after helping someone, I realize I've never really fixed anything, just covered it up." In kissed his hand, her heart swelling. She didn't tell him she had already seen the change in his eyes, the slow shift from cold ambition to something warmer, more human. She didn't tell him that he was learning to believe again, because deep inside, Taehyung wasn't ready to admit it, but she knew, and that was enough. A few months later, South Korea had started whispering about a new kind of Kim Taehyung. The once untouchable, sharp-edged politician was now seen at shelters, hospitals, schools, places no Kim ever gave more than a photo op smile to. But Taehyung didn't just show up for cameras anymore. He lingered, he listened. He walked into narrow alleyways without security, shook hands with the common man, and even knelt down to talk with children. The press adored it. The future of politics. Headlines boomed. Kim Taehyung, the people's leader. But behind the glamour, the Kim family dining table told another story. The long oak table stretched endlessly, polished, silver glinting under the chandelier. The entire Kim family sat in silence as Taehyung's face appeared on the evening news, laughing gently with women at the shelter YN supervised. The anchor praised him for his unexpected sincerity. Mrs. Kim's fork clattered against the plate. "Unexpected sincerity," she scoffed. "Do they think our Taehyung is some social worker now? He's supposed to rule, not babysit the poor." Mr. Kim leaned back, his brows furrowed. "This isn't the image we built for decades. Kims are feared, respected, not softened into charity workers." Namjoon, always calm yet sharp, set down his wine glass. "Publicly, it's beneficial. They're calling him the most approachable Kim. It's giving us more votes than scandals ever could." Mrs. Kim snapped at him. "Votes today, Namjoon, but what about tomorrow? If Taehyung keeps walking this road, he'll drag us all down. People will start expecting honesty from us. Can you even imagine?" Grandma, who had been quiet until then, finally spoke, her voice low but cutting. "He's forgetting his bloodline, forgetting who he is. And I know exactly why." All eyes shifted toward her. She placed her chopsticks down and looked directly at Taehyung's empty chair. "That girl, that lead daughter. She's poisoning him, turning a Kim into a lamb." The room fell into tense silence. Jin's wife looked up briefly, then lowered her eyes again, remembering the warning from years ago. Everything changes once you marry into the Kims. Grandpa finally cleared his throat, his tone stern. "It ends here. A Kim doesn't change. A Kim changes others. If YN thinks she can rewrite our legacy, she's mistaken." Mrs. Kim smirked, satisfied. "Then we'll remind our dear daughter-in-law where her place really is." Meanwhile, at the mansion across the city, Taehyung sat on the couch with YN, watching the very same news broadcast. His arm was draped around her shoulders, his smile softer than the world had ever seen. YN leaned against him, whispering, "See, people are seeing the real you now." Taehyung kissed the top of her head, his voice gentle. "No, they're seeing me through your eyes, and I don't mind." Not one bit. What neither of them knew was that, in the shadows, the Kim family had already started plotting. The shelter was unusually silent that evening until the door creaked open and two women carried in a fragile figure. YN hurried forward, her heels clicking against the tiled floor, her heart tightening when she saw the girl barely 19, face swollen, bruises scattered across her arms, her clothes torn like her dignity had been stripped away. The staff whispered her name, Naji. She had come after rejecting a man's marriage proposal, respectfully, quietly, but his ego couldn't bear the refusal. The violence that followed had left her body broken, and worse, her soul crushed. As Naji sat on the thin mattress, her small frame trembling, she let out a cry so raw, so loud, it pierced every corner of the shelter. The women surrounding her covered their mouths, tears streaming down. Some turned away, unable to witness the scars of a society that punished women for saying no. In crouched down in front of her, her eyes burning but her voice steady. "You're safe now, Naji. No one will touch you here. No one will hurt you again." But Naji shook her head violently, sobbing. "Safe where my own parents don't want me anymore. They broke the engagement. They said I ruined their name. I'm nothing now, nothing." Her scream made even the oldest women in the room weep. One of the shelter residents whispered through her tears, "How can parents abandon their daughter when she's the one who's hurt?" Another muttered, "Because she's a girl, always the girl who pays." In's eyes numbed as she listened, but she didn't let her tears fall. She couldn't not in front of Naji. She reached forward, holding her hand firmly. "Listen to me, Naji. You are not nothing. You are not ruin. That man. And the people who failed to protect you, they are the broken ones, not you." Naji looked up, her swollen eyes meeting YN's. For the first time, her cries quieted into muffled sobs. Behind them, the shelter staff and residents cried silently, some nodding at YN's words, others gripping their own painful memories. YN pressed Naji's trembling hand against her chest. "Feel this. That's my heart. It beats with you, not against you. And as long as I'm alive, you'll never be alone again." The room was heavy with grief, but also with a strange kind of strength, the strength YN always carried into every broken life she touched. Outside the shelter, cameras and microphones could never capture this truth. This was the world In fought for, the raw reality she carried on her shoulders every single day. And far away, at the Kim mansion, while the family discussed political deals over crystal glasses and expensive wine, none of them knew that the very girl their son had married was changing the heartbeat of the nation one broken soul at a time. Women's shelter. Evening, the room is heavy with silence. A 19-year-old girl, Naji, sits on the floor crying. Her bruises make everyone's heart ache. YN kneels beside her, holding her hand tightly. YN softly, determined, "Naji, you deserve justice. Tell me who did this." Naji shaking head, broken voice, "No. No one can touch him. He's powerful. He'll destroy me if I speak." YN firm, looking into her eyes, "I promise you, I won't let that happen. Trust me." "You're not alone anymore." Naji hesitates, then breaks down. Through sobs, she finally speaks. "Naji, it was Mrs. Kim's nephew. He works under her, in politics." Gasps echo in the shelter. Women exchange worried glances, then turn their eyes toward YN. The weight of truth hangs in the air. She is the Kim daughter-in-law. In's face stiffens, but her grip on Naji's hand tightens. All the women silently wonder, will YN fight against her own family?